What's up, fellow Holy Knight fans? Welcome back into the post-game show for One Piece Chapter 1167. So many people are making that joke. It's not even funny. 6-7 isn't even funny, but it feels obligatory. And is it just me? Or did it take off way harder than 21 or 25? What's the next number we're gonna meme up? Is it gonna be like 12 or something? I don't know. But either way, 6-7 is here. Oh my god. Chapter 1167 is here, and we're here to go through the comment section and see what the hell everybody's talking about. And if I had to guess, I am expecting a full red wave. I'm expecting nothing other than Shanks comments. Because let's be real, throughout the entire series, we haven't really gotten much Shanks lore. And when we thought we were gonna get a lot of Shanks lore via Film Red, Oda kinda catfished us, right? He gave us some Shanks stuff, but it was mainly about Uta. Yet he named it Film Red, and the promo picture, of course, had him front and center. That dang clickbaiter. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. First, let me fix my camera. Isn't this super blue? Yeah, that's right. It's a very blue video. I'm gonna fix that real quick though. It's mainly because I don't have this light on. The minute I turn this light on, you'll see how it brightens up the camera. It's pretty insane. Check this out. And we're back to normal. Okay, I'm still kind of blue. Give it a second, give it a second. I'm gaining color, Oh my god, my melanin! Ah! First comment says, Shirahoshi being Mosa is effing nuts. And I am here for it. It's not confirmed yet. I saw a lot of people online say, it's confirmed, it's happening, 100%. And I'm still iffy. I am still very iffy. I know it's in our face. Mosa daughter, Shirahoshi Loki. It's so in your face, you cannot avoid it. But I have my hang-up still. I mentioned it in this video, my previous video. I've talked about it a lot, so I'm not gonna beat the dead horse, but I just don't know how the Denden Mushi's reach. Of course, the long distance one exists, but the Denden Mushi that Loki has is a snow-resistant transponder snail. Does it have a double function? Not too sure. And then the situation that's happening again, what could that possibly be? Shirahoshi is no longer at Marie Joie, so it's not St. Charlos. Vanderdecken's in prison, and I just feel like if she really did have a pen pal for all these years, we would have heard of it, maybe? Because when she was first introduced, she said, oh, I haven't really talked to anybody in so long. It's like, okay, well, if you were talking to Loki this entire time, you should have mentioned it? I don't know. Like, I'm really held up on this one. I like the idea of Shirahoshi because I do think her and Loki would make a great couple, age difference aside, but we'll see. Either way, I do think they will have crazy interactions in the future. Is she Mosa, though? I'm not super sure. So, next comment. They say Shanks turned out to be a rat after all. It just wasn't for the side we thought it was. Yeah, that is true. The Shanks rat news are always interesting because it's like, okay, Shanks is snitching to the Gorosei. Oh, he's a dirty rat. I never really got that assumption. I was like, okay, Blackbeard is such a threat that Shanks potentially, not Shanks anymore, right? It's probably Shamrock, but he potentially is talking about a menace in the world. I don't really think that's snitching. Like, Blackbeard really is a bad guy, but now that we have, Shamrock's introduction, it's most likely him. But either way, it does look like Shanks is trying to gain intel on Marie Joie, and now I'm just wondering, what is he going to do with that information? Has he been feeding Dragon with all the intel, and that's how the Revs have been acting so smoothly? Or is Shanks planning to assault Marie Joie at a later date? Hell, we could even cut back to present day, and he's the one leading the raids. That would be pretty damn awesome. And that could be why they needed Shamrock back. The Holy Land's on fire, Shanks is doing it. Well, why not call the twin brother over to fight him? Because they should be, quote, equal in strength, more or less. I think that'd be awesome. This says, Shamrock seems to me like he's actually happy to have a brother and will be quite upset when he leaves, despite the tough guy act he gave when talking to Loki. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really get the tough guy act. It seemed like he was more upset about Shanks leaving than, being a tough guy and mad about it. Because he did turn around. He's like, oh, like my estranged brother, he left the Holy Land and went down to live with filth. It seemed like he was just salty more than tough. At least that was my interpretation. And yeah, I mean, this is his brother, right? Like, I doubt he wants his brother to be down there living the bad life, so to speak. This says, Shanks is such a fire pirate name. I love the glaze. Shanks is a fire pirate name, and Saint Shanks actually goes hard as hell too. I agree with this one. I think the Saint title is amazing. It just sucks that it's tied to really lame characters like Charlos and Sharia and Roswell and all those other goobers. But you gotta admit, the God Knights, kinda tough, brother, kinda tough. We might as well call these guys the Aura Knights. Shanks just catches W's no matter where he goes and what he does. That's my GOAT right there. It's because Oda loves him. You know, Shanks is one of the first One Piece characters ever, and Shanks even transcends One Piece because even before he was going to create the series, he had another series in mind where Shanks was the leader of the Knight Army. And it's like, bro, yeah, Shanks is his guy. Oda said if there was a character that he relates to the most, it's Shanks, which I think is crazy glaze. That's like me, like, creating Bleach. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, Aizen is modeled after myself. It's like, wait, what? Oda, really? Shanks and Oda, huh? How many similarities do they actually have? I don't know. Shamrock basically saying, okay, Grandpa, let's get you to bed when Shanks is going out of his way to talk like a celestial dragon is hilarious. I think Shamrock might actually be a little more than the average celestial dragon. But then I shouldn't get my hopes up because Oda is capable of making him the dude who kidnapped Ginny. Oh, 100%. I think this theory is looking better and better as the days go on. And it all goes back to the whole SBS where Oda drew Bonnie if she was a guy. And it literally looks like Shanks, but with the piercing and hood on. So I do think that Shamrock could be the one who kidnapped Ginny. I don't think that's super insane. And when you think about the timeline, right? Because Bonnie is 12 years old. The flashback currently is 15 years in the past. Shanks loses his arm next year after this chapter. So maybe Shanks loses his arm and then he leaves the Holy Land permanently. And then Shamrock is really upset about it and he crashes out. And that is why he takes Ginny. He's like, my brother's not home anymore. You know what? I'm gonna go kidnap some women. And here we go. The Ginny situation occurs. I think that is very plausible. And we'll see, you know. We saw what Garling did, right? Garling just laid his seed and then killed the woman. Shamrock displaying the same amount of villainy shouldn't be too insane. But either way, you know, when it comes to me and these characters, I like bad guys, you know. I do think that they push the story forward. They make you look forward to their fights. And hell, I want him to be the guy that kidnapped Ginny even. This says, what if Mosa is just King Neptune, pretending to be someone to make Loki fall in love with Shirahoshi? That would be crazy. So you're saying that King Neptune essentially has taken Shirahoshi's Dendenmushi and is pretending to be a girl so that one day Loki would fall in love with her? That's next level catfishing, brother. That is 4D chess, and I can't see that happening. It's a fun idea, though. It is a fun idea. What's worse, letting your friend die or joining the guys who killed him? Crazy that Harald did both. Which one is worse? You know, minus the Harald stuff. I'd say letting your friend die. Joining the guys, this is just beneficial for Elbaf, and he knows it, right? He knows exactly what he's doing, but he's got to commit. It's not like he can bring rocks back to life, and it's not like revenge would get him anywhere. If Harald went out of his way for revenge, then the Giants would just be even more damned. Oh my god, look at this nasty king of the Giants attacking the world government. They hate world peace. There's no winning if Harald were to go against the world government, especially given his goals. So, you know, I vouch for the guy. I feel bad for him. Thankfully, no one, to our knowledge yet, has talking shit about rocks. Because if they did that, I can't imagine Harald would smile. Maybe he would, you know, but deep down, he'd be kind of saddened. But it makes you wonder, though, right? Does Garland go around actually telling stories about God Valley? Because that'd be pretty funny. I do like the meme coming off the last chapter where Garland's walking around saying, hey, I'm the one who did it. I killed Rocksteady Zabek. I wiped out the Davy clan. That'd be pretty cool. Oda had that scythe ready and swinging for Ida. Brother, he's going for a record, a world record even, because so far in this flashback alone, the Elbaf flashback, he's killed Estrid, he's killed Shanks' mom, he's about to kill Ida, and hell, if we go back to Eris and Blackbeard, that's potentially 4 moms on the chopping block. What does Oda have against mothers? Bro, I've never read a single manga where they've killed 4 or 3 moms in a row. That is absurd. This says, Marine Hunter Mihawk versus Blade of God Saint Shanks. It all makes sense now. I think that'd be really cool. I think this would be a good reason as to how their fights initially started. Of course, I like the idea that Mihawk was simply another Celestial Dragon bastard. Doesn't look like that's the case. Of course, we haven't met all the God Knights yet. But if Shanks were to go after Mihawk simply because he's attacking other Marines, kind of like what Harald is doing here, where he's going after pirates for the world government, then I love it. I think that'll be a really cool confrontation, and hopefully we see it. I mean, hell, we already got God Knight Saint Shanks. Would it really be so much to also ask Oda for Shanks versus Mihawk? It doesn't have to be a full chapter, but just like a panel, right? A panel of them clashing, I think would feed generations. Let's be real. Even if you don't like Shanks, even if you don't like Mihawk, that right there would be freaking hype, even if it's just a clash. Story cover. Cat and Fish. Sai, cat lover. Barbell will make an appearance one day. One day. Will he show up in tomorrow's bingo video? Maybe. Maybe, brother. Dofi is crying in the corner after Shanks was accepted into Mary Joie after 24 years. Dofi was just a child and a victim of his father's deeds, and they abandoned him after 2 months. Yeah. And the most hilarious part about this is that Dofi was all about that life. Shanks! You know, every time Shanks disses Harald or disses somebody in this chapter, he's like over here swallowing, you know, his eyes are blackened. He's like, ah. Oh, you dirty, filthy giant, you lesser being, ugh. It's like every time he insults somebody, he feels pain. Dofi's doing it for the love of the game, right? Dofi, it is ingrained in him, dude. Daddy, where's the slaves? That always cracks me up. Man, that dialogue, that panel, it's so funny. And then Dofi having the little glasses with the gun, it's so good, man. Literally, Dofi would have been an emu enjoyer, an emu stan even, but they kicked his ass out. And what's crazy is that he knows secrets about the world government. He knows about the treasure at Marie Joie. Let him in, boys. Let him in. Come on. Remember, Loki already killed Estrid's brother for abusing him over Estrid's death, so Loki never had any sentiment towards Estrid's side of the family. That is true. He does not care. He's really just looking after number one, which I think most people do anyways. But yeah, now that, you know, Estrid's family is actively going after the one person he actually cares about, yeah, F Estrid's family 100%. Harald, turning blind eyes to the slaves of the Holy Land is insane. What's hilarious about this is that we didn't see a single interaction with Harald and the slaves. Oda just kind of skipped right by that, right? We didn't see any of that whatsoever. We know slaves are everywhere at Marie Joie. You know, celestial dragons are riding these guys. They're pushing the streets. They're over here, you know, painting the buildings. And Oda just says, oh yeah, forget about that. Let's just focus on Harald hanging out with the God Knights instead. He's one of the boys now. Which I feel like maybe the reason why he did that is because the interaction would be pretty obvious, maybe. You know, because Harald, I doubt, would like that, but he sees it as maybe a necessary evil. You know what? I changed my mind. Maybe we should see this. I would love just like one panel of it saying, oh man, this sucks, but Elbaf's future. You know, just think about the end goal, Harald. Come on. Not gonna lie, Monster Hidden in the Mist sounds like a Naruto title. It really does. Isn't that Zabuza's title? Here we go. Yeah. So I'm not the only one who thought of the Assassin of the Mist, Zabuza. Dude, Zabuza is so goated. I know people hate it when you're like, oh, I love Zabuza because he's a, episode 10 villain? But Zabuza and Naruto literally sold the series for me. When I saw Zabuza coming in with Haku, I was like, yo, this is it. This series is fire as hell. It is the same. Garland was a knight and is now replaced as an elder. Still 13 members. Current day. I don't know if I agree with this per se, because when we got the dragon silhouettes where there's 9 people, Garling wasn't one of them, because we would notice Garling's hairstyle, right? Let me look it up real quick to make sure I'm not spitting smoke in your ass. The Dragon God Knights. Will this pop up? Yeah, so I'm looking at the image right now of Dragon and all the God Knights silhouetted. None of them have Garling's hair, so I'm just going to assume that Garling's not in there, like Dragon did not count him. I mean, not even the God Valley version of his hair is here, so I don't think that it's still 13. And then another thing to keep in mind with this number as well is that Gonko was, at this point in time, God Steel, so she later gets promoted to join the 13. So Gonko alone would make this 14, and then if Garland gets promoted to Elder, I mean, that wouldn't really change much. But and then, yeah, I mean, a lot of years have passed, so this number not still being 13, I think is very plausible. This says, Shanks, really put on a masterclass of double-crossing the world government. Yeah, he's doing a good job, man. I don't know how they actually believe him because the crew made it to Laugh Tale, but here he is, brother. He is playing his role very, very well. It's Seaman. This is in reference to Emu and the sea contracts. I was like, oh, he could be the Seaman or Sea God or something like that. Dopey's situation is clearly different. Dopey's family willingly left and renounced their title. Shanks was, quote, lost as a baby. Garling and Shamrock probably felt relief when he came back. For them, they found a missing family member. Shanks probably told them a sob story like, the pirates took me and I was forced to hang out with such lowlives. But for that long, okay. The Dopey situation is different. Dopey wanted to come back after a month or two, maybe even a week. It didn't take long for Dopey to come groveling back. Shanks was gone for many, many years. By the time he showed back up, he was a young adult. I think that's crazier. Like, okay, you're lost as a baby, sure. Lost until you're a young adult is insane. And then plus, it's not just like he was hanging out with randos. He was with the guys who found the One Piece. You know, he was with the guys who circumnavigated the world. Roger! Garlic knows Roger. So I don't know. Like, it's different, but I don't think it helps this argument per se. Yeah, I really don't think it is. And then plus Dopey could have said the same thing like, hey, you know, my dad just kind of forced me to do this. I don't want to do it. Oh, man. I really just think it's the for Garling tax coming in hard. That's my cope. That is my cope right there. What does this comment say? This is actually from me. Ended up with a longer video today, and I didn't even talk about the whole Blackbeard versus Shanks thing, and Shanks losing his arm, Shanks with the family sword, etc. Yeah, this week's going to be dominated by Shanks discussions 110,000%. And yeah, when it comes to the whole Blackbeard versus Shanks thing, people are wondering if Shanks had regeneration. I don't think so. I feel like that might be a tier 2, tier 3 power, or else Shanks would have just, I don't know, regenerated the scar, regenerated his arm. So I don't think Shanks had that. But even with that being the case, I don't think the pact is exactly meaningless. Tier 1 has to give you something. I don't think it's a big boost, but I bet it gives you a boost to some extent. And then as far as the Shanks family sword, if Shamrock's blade turns into a Cerberus, let's not be shocked when Shanks' blade turns into some other monster as well. I bet their dad gave that to them, like, I don't know, the Figarlands passed that down for generations or something. And yeah, man, this is definitely a Shanks chapter, and I'm all here for it. I'm not even the biggest Shanks fan. You know, people might watch this video and leave, and they're like, oh my god, Sai is a massive Shanks fan. But that's not even the case, you know? If you look at my top 10, he's not even up there yet. Maybe that'll change, but you know, I'm a bigger Mihawk fan, but even I gotta admit, man, Shanks is a lot of fun to talk about. He's a really cool character. Florian Triangle Monster mentioned my favorite One Piece mystery. Same. If I had to think about a mystery in One Piece that excites me, I think it would be the Florian Triangle Monsters. And that might just be their association with Thriller Bark, because I was a big fan of that arc, and they just seem scary, right? Just giant pillars in the mist that apparently kill people or make people go missing. What the hell is that? You know, they don't even look humanoid, man. It is a really fun One Piece mystery. And hell, when I was a kid, I was a big fan of the Bermuda Triangle. I always thought that was fascinating. I wanted to go there one day. Definitely not going to go nowadays, but it was fun in the past to think about. Shanks, being a Holy Knight is another upscale for Mihawk. You know what's funny? You could replace Mihawk and say upscale for the rest of the Holy Knights. Like, oh, Shanks is only tier 1? But what about Sommers, huh? Sommers is tier 3. But then again, we know that Sommers is kind of a bum. So, Luffy has the Sun God Fruit, and for whatever reason, he is made of rubber. So, what if Emu has a Sea God Fruit, but is made of ink? It would explain all the black looks, the tattoos, the contracts, and pulling the gun from a book. Yeah, I like this. I think ink is a pretty prominent theory, and the funnest part about Emu having some sort of ink powers is that he could do some fourth wall breaking stuff, or he could have Toon Force just like Luffy, and I don't know why. I've talked about it before, but during Luffy and Emu's battle, I feel like it'll become so cartoony to the point where they're throwing manga panels at each other. Is that too much? Maybe. But if Oda wanted to go with a bang and really just warp the entire genre, he could do that. When it comes to Emu having the Sea God Fruit specifically, I'm still iffy on that one. I like the idea. I think Oda is definitely setting it up. I think an easy shoe-in could just be saying that he is the rain god, because that is associated with water and the sea anyways. Because we heard about the rain god back in Skypiea and during the Harley text, so I feel like at some point the rain god will have to come into play. And we could say these are all linked, or, ooh, the god that goes by many names, the sea, the rain, blah, blah, blah. I still also like the moon god theory. Either way, he's probably going to be some sort of god, right? I think we can all agree with that. Harald is still catching strays. Even Neptune chose Loki, the second nut, to be his daughter's mate. A half ancient giant, half merfolk person would be awesome. I don't know about awesome, but it would be interesting. I think the reason why I'm so hesitant on this one is because it reminds me of the Wotan we got back during Foxy's arc, which was like a sea lounge giant fishman hybrid, and they were just nasty looking, brother. Of course, there's so many different fish that the baby could take after, so it won't look like that guy. But I just think about the Wotan, and I'm like, ooh, ooh. But then again, a mermaid with horns. If they have Loki's horns, that would be kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. But also, you're right, though. Harald is catching strays. Not even King Harald brought up Harald. When we got over to Fishman Island, they were talking about how destructive Loki was. Not a single mention of Harald at all. Saying, oh yeah, Loki's destructive, I love him. And then I have another son who's really tame and cool. Like, Harald got nothing. Not even his dad is talking about him. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. What if Dr. Kureha is the doctor that treats Ida? Her being so old could have something to do with time dilation theory on Elbaf. I like this. I do like the idea of a renowned doctor coming to the island, whether it's Kureha, whether it's Hiruluk, or maybe even Vegapunk. I want one of these guys here. Dr. Kureha, I think, would fit the bill really nicely. And we know that Dr. Kureha knows about the D clan. She knows what it actually means. So bringing her into the story and explaining her backstory would be perfect. I am down with that, brother. And also, you know, Dr. Kureha, I don't think a lot of people believe it. I think it might just be a me thing. I held the poll a while back. I think it wasn't super popular, but I always liked the theory that she was connected to world nobles. And if she were to show up here and Harald has the tattoo on his arm, maybe Dr. Kureha could mention it or be like, oh, I remember when I had one of those things, or ooh, so you're marked, huh, Harald? Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. I swear, a lot of people said Mosa is Shirahoshi. Oh yeah. This was a very popular theory. Back when we first heard about Mosa, Shirahoshi was a not popular candidate, but she was kind of like a dark horse. She was a dark horse in the competition, but now that this chapter is aired, the dark horse is starting to lead the race. Shanks pulled up on the Gorosei to talk about a certain pirate confirmed for the 1000th time. Or 100th time, actually. I wouldn't say it's confirmed. I mean, it could be him, it could be Shamrock. I mean, they look so damn similar, brother. And the problem is that we know that Shamrock has the hood. So it's like, it could be that. And then now that we know that the God Knights live in a different domain of the Holy Land, Shangara, the line where they're like, oh, you came all the way over here to talk? What's up? Like, that could fit now. I don't know if it's Shanks or Shamrock. And I held the poll on this, I think when we got the Shamrock reveal, and it was still about 50-50. I think it was leaning towards Shamrock though. So I would not say this is confirmed until we actually see the scene again and we see what pirate they were actually talking about. Because I think we will tackle that again at some point. Harald, after seeing Shanks and Shamrock, what a feeling. Their presence and the aura radiating from them. It's impossible for it to come from ordinary humans. But their father reeks of rats. They must be immense cards from their mother. Hey, whoa. We don't know about that yet. We do not know about that yet. I mean, their mom died in a single hit. What can I say? You know, she got no diff by the father of rats, man. I don't know. She didn't lock in. What can I say? Maybe Loki and Shirahoshi are two sovereigns that must meet. I agree with this. When it comes to Shirahoshi, she is a 900-year-old reincarnation of a mermaid. Loki, I bet, will be the same way. Hell, when Loki was born, they mentioned how they've never seen a giant with these eyes before. Yeah, it's probably going to be Void Century related, and Loki could be the one who captains the Noah's Ark. Especially if Loki goes out and he looks for a galley Ra, right? Rock's kind of set him on that path. He's like, oh, I wanted your father to captain those guys, but I guess I'll go find him. Well, his dad and Rox are dead, so I do like to imagine that Loki, after Elbaf, would go after the galley Ra. And if he finds them, they could be the people that the Sea Kings are looking for to repair the Noah's Ark, and Loki could just simply captain that ship afterwards, which would be pulled by Shirahoshi. I do think he is one of the sovereigns, 1,000,000%. Shamrock seems to care about Shanks. Yes, he does. Even the dad seems to care about Shanks. You know, Garling was like, hey, meet my adorable son, Shanks. He had a tough childhood, let me tell you. Yeah, crazy circumstances. Never heard the Shirahoshi as Mosa theory, but I think it makes perfect sense and is probably true because I can already imagine their personalities going back and forth and they're the same size, so I can see them being together off of that alone. Yeah, I think the size is perfect. Shirahoshi is like 100 times bigger than a regular mermaid. Loki is bigger than your regular ancient giant. I think it was meant to be. And even if they're not meant to be, maybe in the Void Century, that was a thing, right? This could be like star-crossed lovers to an extent. Like, oh, in a past life, our ancestors, they liked each other a lot. Well, we know Shirahoshi is good at keeping a secret. No one thought she knew that Horty killed her mom, and she kept that secret for years. So I wouldn't be surprised she didn't tell the Straw Hats about Luffy. This says, to be fair, why would she bring it up to the Straw Hats that she talks to some stranger only through the Den? Not exactly relevant, at least to her. That's fair. I think this is a pretty fair way to look at it. Yeah, Shirahoshi not mentioning she had a pen pal. That's fair. But now, I guess, it falls back to the other qualms, though, right? What is the event that Shirahoshi is talking about that could be happening again? The first event, obviously could have been Charlos, Vanderdecken, but she's out of those situations now. And last we saw, Fishman Island is doing relatively okay. Caribou showed up and he's telling Blackbeard about the ancient weapons, but I think that's like the same day the Straw Hats showed up to Elbaf. So unless there's like time dilation going crazy, Blackbeard shouldn't be at Fishman Island yet to kidnap Shirahoshi. And then there's the nickname of Mosa. That is a nickname that King Harald started because he saw King Neptune, and he's assuming that Shirahoshi is going to be Shaggy as well. Loki hasn't met Shirahoshi, and he hasn't met Neptune, so he wouldn't really know about their hairiness to come up with the nickname. Like I said, I think we can smooth this out and make it work, but I'm not there yet. Like this right here, I think is a pretty good explanation, but it's just one of the qualms I have with it. We should have known it was something like this. This is similar to Freemason 33 degrees level. When you reach the top, you'll learn which god you are serving, and you would be too deep to get out naturally. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what Harald's doing. Yeah, 100%. And what's funny is that I don't even know if Harald is actively trying to go against the world government, because initially, we learned that the world government wanted to create soldiers in Elbaf, right? And then we saw the school and we're like, oh my god, Harald has been doing the exact opposite. Was he working against the world government willingly, or was that by accident? Well, we come to this chapter, Saul shows up to Elbaf and Harald is casually saying, hey, Saul, build a school, man, why not? He wasn't really thinking about the world government. So when they're saying that Harald made a blunder or Harald made mistakes, he probably genuinely made mistakes, man. I don't know. It kind of seems like that. Sai knows what he's saying. I know he knows. I just can't prove it yet. What did I say there? Was this the Seaman one? If it was the Seaman one, I know what I was saying. But like I said, it's 50-50 with these. It's 50-50. Loki on his Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, killing that village, man. Deserved. I've seen people saying that this is what people were referencing when we first heard about Loki and how he set villages on fire and how he attacked villages. I think this could be one of those instances because we heard about the arsenry before. But even before this chapter, we saw Loki attacking villages and setting buildings on fire too. So this is probably the one instance where it's justified. But we can't ignore Loki as a kid where he actively did attack people. So when it comes to all those rumors we heard about Loki initially, some of them are justified, but some of them are missing really important contextual details. The Fisher Tiger incident has been solved thanks to Shanks for being responsible for freeing Tiger, and in return, Tiger freed the others, including Boa, Hancock, and her sisters. It doesn't look like Shanks was the one who freed Fisher Tiger, but he definitely helped Fisher Tiger. He didn't stop him, and Shanks also opened the armory, which is where Fisher Tiger got his iconic bazookas, which is pretty cool. I do like that a lot. So, Mosa is Shirahoshi. Who the hell is attacking Fishman Island right now? Blackbeard? So glad there's no break next week, brother. Same. And I'm excited to go back to current day events as well. Like, so much is happening in Elbaf, but I'm looking even beyond that. What's happening in the Holy Land? What's happening with Blackbeard, with Dragon, with Shanks, with Cross-Guild Sengoku? Like, there's so much to tackle. I'm like, yo, this flashback is peak. But after we leave the flashback, we're dealing with freaking fire still. Bro, the moon does influence the tides. It does. When I said this in the video, I said, yeah, you know, the moon kind of influences the tides. I was thinking more so like cartoonishly, like extreme lengths. Like in fiction, for example, you know, you're watching some kind of anime or cartoon show, and the moon is over here like bending the waves and shit. So in real life, yeah, it does that, but to a lesser extent. which is why I brought up like, oh, in fantasy, you know, in fantasy, the moon is like always that monster that just does shit. This says, kind of wild that Shanks indirectly caused Nami's backstory about freeing Fisher Tiger, who would go on to recruit Arlong. Dude, if we were to do this, we'd go so far back. Well, Dragon saved Shanks, and then Shanks helped Tiger, and then Tiger, you know, had Arlong and Jinbei there, and then they split up, and then Arlong did this. Like, we could keep on going back and back and back and back, but I do like it, though. I like how all of these stories are somewhat intertwined. I think that's a lot of fun. The Flooring Triangle Giants could be Frozen Galley Lodge Giants. I don't think so, because we know that the Florian Triangle has been destroying pirate ships and people who sail by. And if they were the Frozen Galley Lodge Giants, then they wouldn't be doing that. They would not be attacking whatsoever. And plus, we only saw 3 sets of eyes. If they were the Frozen Galley Lodge Giants, I feel like we'd see a lot more eyes. And then if they're also in the middle of the ocean, I don't think they'd be frozen, depending on the water temperature. All right, last 2 comments. I think Shanks' mission of entering Mirijan was part of Roger's plan, and what he told Shanks in their last meeting was related. Yeah, that could be it. I like this. And that would be a reason for Shanks to cry as well, because what? Roger could go up to him and say, hey, Shanks, you need to go to the Holy Land. You need to spend some time with your family, because let me tell you, brother, I'm dying soon, and you need to gear up, brother. You need to gather some intel. And Shanks is like, oh no, you're my dad, Roger, please. Because when Shanks freed Fisher Tiger and saved the rest of the slaves, including Hancock and her sisters, Hancock mentioned that those who helped them escape were Rayleigh, Shaki, and Gloriosa. This means Rayleigh knew about Shanks' mission and the night he freed Fisher Tiger and the slaves. Yeah, I wouldn't say this exactly. I mean, it's not like Hancock saw Shanks there. And then plus, Rayleigh, Shaq, and Gloriosa were most likely at Subodi Archipelago, which is right next to the Red Line. So I don't think this has to be the case. And then Rayleigh knowing about Shanks' mission, I don't think he knew either, because this was all Fisher Tiger, right? Fisher Tiger is the one who broke through his cage. I don't think Shanks did it, because when Fisher Tiger ran into Shanks, he said, oh my God, a God Knight. What is he doing here? Right? It doesn't seem like Shanks was the one who did that. I think Fisher Tiger did like all the heavy lifting in the beginning. He initiated, and then Shanks simply helped him out in the middle. Or at least that's my interpretation. I could be wrong, which I always say that, right? You know, even when it comes to responding to these comments, I could be wrong on some of them, and I'm, you know, happy to be corrected, but that's my understanding right now. Which, last comment, here we go. Shirahoshi, being Mosa was not on my bingo list for the end of the year. Yeah, like I said, Dark Horse Theory, man. It is coming freaking true. Apparently. I'm not there yet, but apparently. If we wanted to work with the Shirahoshi Mosa theory, we could say that while Loki was out on the open seas for 6-ish years, maybe, or wait, how long was he out on the open seas? Harald was murdered 14 years ago, and then he was either out roaming around for 6 or 8 years. I'm kind of hazy on which one. It's one of those. It's either 6 or 8. Unfortunately, not 6, 7, but yeah. Maybe he went down to Fishman Island and he dropped off his snail. But that wouldn't make sense either, because Loki said that he's never seen Mosa before. So he wouldn't have been able to go and give the Denden Mushi to Shirahoshi. How about this? Loki goes down and he sees King Neptune, and then he gives the Denden Mushi to King Neptune for some reason, and then King Neptune gives it to Shirahoshi, and they don't see each other because she's in the hard-shell tower hiding from Vanderdeck, and maybe that's it. Yeah, that could be it. And then we just have to explain the event that's happening again, which, if Blackbeard's attacking, that could fit, but Loki, the way he worded it, made it seem like it was a reoccurring thing. And this would be the first time this has actually happened. And then timing-wise, like, would that make sense? I mean, if time dilation's a thing, yeah. I'm sorry, I keep on thinking about this theory. I'm like trying to think through it, like, okay, how could this work? And then with Mosa's a very timid character, but then for Shirahoshi, she's a crier. Unless she really did stick true to Luffy's promise, and she's crying a lot less, and that's why she's not sobbing. And then I guess another thing we could think about is Shirahoshi. She loves Luffy. Not like romantically, but she would have talked about how Luffy helped Fishman Island and saved her. So would she not tell that to Loki, her favorite pen pal that she could talk to every single day? Because if that's the case, then Loki would have seen Luffy and be like, oh, you helped out Mosa. Luffy, you're not so bad after all. Thanks for helping my pen pal. I just don't know, man. I don't know. And, you know, you could say, like, yeah, it's in our face, but Oda is known for fake outs, though. That's why I don't, like, fully believe it yet. It feels too good to be true. I said it before, but I do think they will meet up in the future, and they will be a thing, and they could end up tugging the Noah's Ark together. But right now, is she Mosa? Yeah, I gotta hold that poll. I know I keep on saying that. I gotta hold that damn poll. But anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really freaking appreciate it. Make sure to go down to the pinned comment and drop your prediction for the next chapter of One Piece. We're going to be doing that pretty soon. So make sure to get your one-liners in there. And I'll catch you guys in the next video, because there's no break next week. So we're pretty much just speeding along, brothers. Catch you then. Peace out. Stay safe. Have a great rest of your night.